A bullet enters the skull. Most people die, but some don't. And for the people who survive, the story doesn't end with the shot. It starts there. Because surviving a bullet to the head does not mean the brain survived clean. It means something missed. By millimeters. By luck. By 1 brutal centimeter. But if the brain survives the first second, what tries to kill it next? A bullet does not need to destroy the whole brain. It only needs to pass through the wrong place. The skull is hard, but it is not armor. When the bullet punches through bone, the bone breaks inward. Now there is not one weapon inside the head. There are two: the bullet and pieces of your own skull. Bone fragments cut through tissue, blood vessels tear, brain matter bruises, stretches, and rips. Then comes the pressure wave. Fast, invisible, violent. The damage spreads beyond the hole, because the brain is soft tissue floating inside a sealed bone box. And that box does not expand. So when the brain swells, there is nowhere for it to go. Pressure rises, blood flow drops, oxygen disappears. Neurons begin dying in places the bullet never touched. That is the part people miss. The entry wound is not the whole injury. The pressure kills beyond the entry point. The swelling kills. The bleeding kills. The skull fragments kill. And sometimes the brain kills itself trying to survive. So why can someone stay awake while parts of the brain are already gone? In the first seconds, you may not black out. Some people stay awake. They hear the sound. They feel the impact. They try to move. Then one side of the body does nothing. A leg stops answering. An arm disappears from command. The mouth opens, but the sentence doesn't come. The brain is still running, parts of it, but other parts are already gone, silent, or drowning in blood. Movement, speech, memory, vision, impulse control. The body does not understand that the command center has been hit. So it keeps trying, breathing, blinking, grabbing, gasping. Survival becomes a race between swelling and surgery. And this is where the truth gets ugly. Who lives and who dies is mostly about location. Not courage, not strength, not willpower. Location. But how can one tiny difference decide whether a person dies on the floor or wakes up days later? If the injury reaches the brainstem, the systems that keep you alive can fail. Breathing, heart rate, consciousness. 1 centimeter in one direction and the body stops before it hits the ground. 1 centimeter in another direction and that same person wakes up in an ICU 3 days later. That is how thin the line is. 1 centimeter decides everything. A frontal lobe injury can leave you alive. But alive is not the same as intact. The frontal lobes help control judgment, personality, planning, restraint. Damage them, and the person may come back different. Calm people become aggressive. Careful people become impulsive. Funny people become flat. Brilliant people cannot finish a thought. The bullet did not kill the body. It deleted part of the person. But what does survival mean if the person who comes back is not the same? That is why old brain injury cases still matter. Phineas Gage was not shot, but his case shows the same horror. In 1848, an iron rod blasted through his skull and damaged his frontal lobe. He survived. He walked. He spoke. But the people who knew him said he was not the same man. The famous line was simple. Gage was no longer Gage. That is the nightmare, not death. Return. But altered. Modern cases are cleaner, better documented, and still brutal. Gabby Giffords was shot through the left side of her brain. She survived. But speech did not simply come back because she was awake. She had to fight for words. Again and again. Not because the thoughts were gone, because the pathway from thought to speech had been damaged. That is aphasia. The idea exists. The meaning exists. The person is still inside, but the road from the mind to the mouth is broken. The thought exists. The path to say it doesn't. So what is actually lost? The memory, the word, or the road between them? That is why recovery can look strange. Someone can understand you but fail to answer. They can know the word but not reach it. They can see the cup, know it is a cup, want the cup, and still be unable to say cup. That is not stupidity. That is damaged wiring. In surgery, the bullet is not always the first problem. The pressure is. Surgeons may open the skull to give the swelling room. They remove shattered bone. They stop bleeding. They clean damaged tissue. But the bullet itself may stay, because pulling it out can tear more brain than leaving it in. Some survivors live for years with metal still inside them. The bullet becomes part of the anatomy, not harmless, just less dangerous than moving it. And after surgery, the second survival begins. Relearning, walking, swallowing, speaking, remembering, controlling anger, controlling fear, controlling a body that now feels borrowed. But if the brain can rewire, why doesn't it simply rebuild the person? The brain can rewire. That is real. But rewiring is not a perfect copy. It is a detour, a workaround, a new road built around a crater. Sometimes function returns. Sometimes it returns wrong. Seizures, chronic pain, numb limbs, phantom sensations, personality changes, depression, memory gaps, noise sensitivity, explosions of rage, fatigue so deep it feels like the brain has a battery that never fully charges, and the damage can echo for decades. A head gunshot wound is fatal, about 9 times out of 10 overall. Among people who reach a trauma center alive, the odds can be better. But survival is not the same as recovery. Most survivors carry permanent damage. Full recovery, meaning back to exactly who you were before, is rare enough that people talk about it like a miracle. Most live somewhere between alive and intact. Functioning, but changed. Present, but interrupted. The body may survive the shot. The brain may survive part of it. But the person who wakes up may have to rebuild from whatever is left. So the real question is not, did the bullet kill them? The real question is, what part of them did it leave behind? A bullet does not have to kill you to destroy something. It only has to pass through the wrong centimeter. And inside 3 pounds of brain tissue, there are a lot of wrong centimeters.